Hey, how's it going, everybody? So in this video, I want to sort of compare and contrast the Emblems system in Empires and Puzzles with the equipment system in Gemstone Legends to kind of help you understand a bit better or fill in any gaps in your understanding. My goal is not to try to say which one is better or best, because I think that just really depends on what it is you want out of it. But I want to give more information from my perspective and share my insights on these two to sort of compare and contrast them for your benefit. So if you haven't checked out Gemstone Legends yet, there is a download link in the description down below, as well as a promo code that will give you about a $50 head start in the game to let you try it out, do a bunch of summons. That code will let you do 50 summons and give you some gold and gems. So that way you can try out the game, not have to spend anything, and try to get a feel on whether it's something you enjoy. I'm going to keep making content to kind of make the different features of the game a little bit simpler, and so you don't have to figure it out yourself. There's a decent learning curve to this game, as there was for Empires and Puzzles as well. But the existence of that learning curve implies the amount of strategic depth that there is, and that's the thing that I am really enjoying about this game, is how much there is that you can have control over, and just how much room there is to be clever within it. So if you click the link in the description down there, download the game, complete the tutorial, which will take you maybe about 15 minutes. And then after completing the tutorial, within 3 hours of downloading the game, enter that code #Spock in the global chat, which is the chat bar at the bottom of the base screen, and get your free stuff. It'll show up in your inbox, which is in the upper left screen, or upper left corner of the screen, that gold chest up there. So yeah, give it a try. A lot of people from Empires and Puzzles have already come over there. I'm in a guild with a bunch of people from Empires and Puzzles, and yeah, we're having a lot of fun with it. So come play with us, check it out, and let's talk about equipment. So if you're familiar with Empires and Puzzles, you're used to seeing a screen like this for emblems, which can be added to any star level of hero. In this case, we're looking at Kirill with costume bonus, and you can see that what you're getting here is a combination of talents, which there are, I forget how many classes there are, 10 to 13, somewhere in there, might just be 10. And you don't have any control over what hero gets which talent. It's just randomly assigned. And sometimes it's an incredible match, like Cobalt and the Wizard class is one of the best class matches in the game. And sometimes it's a really poor match, like I think Kirill, who is a healer, getting this Jinx talent of dealing more damage based on buffs is a really poor match for him. So that's a thing. Additionally, you get to choose one of two paths at each fork, and you can choose to prioritize certain stat boosts that come with that. All of them have a mix of health, defense, attack, critical chance. This can vary depending on the tree that you're looking at, from 2% to 4%, I believe. There's a healing bonus in here sometimes. Over here, you can have a mana bonus in there of either 2 or 4%, again, depending on the class. And so you get to bump up your stats a little bit, gain a talent, and perhaps, increase the critical chance or mana chance, or, mana gain, or the healing by a small amount, and that's basically what you're working with here. You have to acquire these emblems, obviously, from plenty of different areas in the game, but that's the basis of this system, and it's at its crux, in my opinion. It's like, here's a way you can choose a few standout heroes within each class to boost the stats of, and it works fine for that. And it's nice to have the talent sometimes. There's some talents that are certainly better than others, but that's kind of as deep as it gets. And that's fine. I think there are good things about this, but it's definitely simplistic, and there are times where you're like, this is a terrible class choice for this hero, so now I'm only adding emblems just so I can boost their stats a little bit. So by comparison, Gemstone Legends just has a lot more stats to the heroes. So if you look in the bottom right here, total stats, we're looking at the stats for a particular hero, Aurora, which you can see in sort of the top bar underneath artifacts. You can see Aurora, 5 stars. But if we go back to the stats in the lower corner, we have HP, attack, and defense, which we're all familiar with. Then there's crit rate and crit damage. Crit rate would be how often you would get a critical hit, and this applies to both gemstone attacks and special skills. Crit damage would be how much that damage is boosted by. Speed is a number that determines the order of hero turns. And then mana is basically how many tiles you would need to charge. So this is like this explains to you what percentage each tile gives you. So 1 blue tile on this hero's turn, who is a blue hero, will give me 23% of my mana. So I'll need slightly more than 4. And since they're only divisible by whole numbers, then I'll need 5 tiles unless I boost that speed, or excuse me, that mana gain, which I can with the caster set that you see on the screen there. The last 2 stats, resistance and accuracy, have to do with ailments. Resistance is how likely you are to not have an ailment placed on you, and accuracy is how likely you are to place an ailment. So depending on what kind of hero you're looking at, those things can be more or less significant. So the white numbers that you're seeing down there are the base stats of the hero based on the level that they're at, and the green stats on the right are the stats that are being added by equipment. So if we look at the top of the screen here again, you can see 6 pieces of equipment. Each hero can have 1 weapon, helmet, shield, gloves, armor, and boots. The first 3, weapon, helmet, and shield, all have the same primary stat to them. So weapons, for example, always boost attack first. If we look in the lower left down here, you can see that main stat next to the stars there is attack. And then since this is a legendary artifact or piece of equipment, we have 4 substats. With the helmet, the primary stat is always going to be HP. Again, we have more substats. In this case, there are only 3 because this is an epic item. Shield is always defense. Again, 4 substats. And then gloves can have a variable first stat. So can armor, and so can boots. So no need to memorize this all. There's this, if you click on the little I button at the top, you can get all the information you need about artifacts, what the different sets do, where you can get them. This tells you about substats and how they change as you level up. So this piece right here shows you that legendary comes with 4 substats, epic with 3, rare with 2, and it decreases down to uncommon. As you get epic gear up to higher levels, which we can look at with this one here, you can see we only have 3 substats, but if we go to upgrade this, you can see unlock new substat at level 12. So eventually, if you level them all the way up, you will have the full complement of substats. It's just that you won't have as many opportunities to build upon those since you have to unlock them. Whereas this piece started with 4, and so each time we upgrade, we can increase those stats. So if we look on the middle of the screen here, we can see a bunch of different folders for equipment sets. And you can see within here we have, weapons, helmets, shields, armor, gloves, everything like that. But you can see, just looking at it, that compared to Empires and Puzzles, there are a lot more aspects of a hero that you can affect. So we have sets for HP, defense, attack, accuracy, resistance, crit rate, crit damage, speed, mana gain, and then some hybrid sets of accuracy and speed, attack, a very big attack boost, but a decreased HP, defense and attack, etc., etc. So already much more sophisticated than the emblem system in Empires and Puzzles. You may or may not like that, but again, for me, anytime there's more opportunity to be strategic with my decisions, I really enjoy that. So this seems complex at first, but once you start to get a handle on it and you just get familiar with it, it becomes a lot simpler and it becomes more exciting, in my opinion. I agree that it's a lot to learn at first, but it does quickly get simpler. You just kind of have to pick up some of this new information, and they're really great with these tooltips where you don't have to learn everything at once, but you can start to gain some increased knowledge there. So the other thing to take note of with these sets is that if we look at the Guardian set, for example, we can see a 2 in parentheses. What that means is equipping 2 items from this set yields the bonus that we see to the right. So with the hero in question here, I do have 2 items equipped from this set, and that is contributing to a 15% defense boost in addition to these other percentages. So you can see the main stat on this armor is a defense percentage, and so that's going to add to it as well. These gloves also have a defense percentage. The armor and gloves, the first substat can be a multitude of different things, so this was just a good fit for this hero, who is a support hero who you want to keep alive. So the other set that I have equipped is this Mystic set. If we look at the lower left where it's showing the artifact, you can see that it's saying Mystic. And if we go to that folder here, that is accuracy and speed. So when I was equipping this hero, I didn't have anything from the Swift set, which you can see a couple up, which gives a 25% speed boost, which would be probably a better choice because accuracy doesn't factor into what this hero special does. That was just the only way I was able to boost up speed. So it's okay to make mistakes. You're going to learn a lot more as you go. And so it's good to just get some equipment on because equipment is a really important part of the heroes. It's kind of like how important troops are in Empires and Puzzles, where if you get too focused on the heroes and you're not paying attention to your troops, then you're not going to be at your full potential. The same thing is true here for equipment, but I think equipment is even more important than troops, where like some of these equipment sets collectively can like double your HP or double your attack, whereas troops and Empires and Puzzles and even Emblems can't get anywhere near that. So very important. One thing to keep in mind, which is a new feature in this game, is the auto equip that we see in the lower portion of the screen here. So I'm going to show you what that's all about. Basically, it's a great way to get started with equipment if you kind of feel pressure to learn all this stuff before you dive in. So one quick thing I forgot to mention is there's a great video on the Gemstone Legends YouTube account that I'm going to link in the description of this video that walks through kind of just the facts about equipment. I wanted to cover my perspective and what my observations have been, but this kind of gives you some of those facts on like percentage chances of things while upgrading and just like explaining to you the instruction manual of equipment, so to speak. So I'll link that in the description below. Be sure to check that out if this is something that you're interested in learning about. So when I was first playing this game, I felt sort of overwhelmed by the equipment. And I was like, man, I don't really know what I should put on this particular hero. I don't really know what stats I want to add to. And so I just didn't do anything with it. But that was hurting my potential because of what I just mentioned about equipment being so important. So just recently, they've added an auto-equip feature. So you can see on this main hero screen, the empty equipment slots to the left and right of the hero card itself. If I click on equipment down here, there's this auto-equip button. And you can see with our stats in the lower right, there's no green stats to the side because we have no equipment boosting this hero's stats. So if I hit auto-equip, what's going to happen is an AI feature of the game is going to try to choose what it thinks are the best sets to match with the style of hero that we're trying to match to. One thing to also keep in mind is that it's going to try to match the best equipment that you have first. So I would recommend starting with your better heroes or the heroes that you like the most when you're auto-equipping equipment so that you don't consume those on weaker heroes and you prioritize your best heroes. So if we look at what's going on here, we have a pretty big boost to HP, almost a doubling of attack, a decent boost to defense, a big boost to crit rate and crit damage. Again, you can get critical hits on special skills in this game, so those can be really important for heroes that deal damage with their special skills. A huge boost to speed, 50% more, which means this hero is going to have a turn much sooner in a battle, which is really important. Speed is huge in this game. No boost to mana gain, so it's still going to take us 5 tiles to charge this hero on her turn. A little boost to resistance and then a bigger boost to accuracy. This hero does place a burn ailment, so increasing the accuracy can increase the likelihood of that ailment landing. So if we look through, like we mentioned, if you touch and hold on these, you can see that as we talked about before with the weapon, the main stat is attack. We're also getting crit rate and speed from this. And then this set overall is increasing accuracy and speed since we have 4 pieces from this set. Helmet, as we mentioned before, gives HP boost. This also has crit damage and crit rate and defense. Shield gives defense. We're also getting a little more speed and crit rate, so you get the idea. You can see that 4 of these are from one set, and 2 of them are from 2 different sets. So we're not going to get a bonus from these, but they could be important enough pieces on their own that we're not so much worried about that. Like this is a 65% increase to crit damage, which is pretty significant. So if you hit accept, then you can choose to have these placed and improve your hero. So I recommend doing this with your best heroes first, like I mentioned, but absolutely not overlooking equipment because it is hugely important, and you can see that by the stat increases here. So the other thing that I want to look at is we'll open up this tooltip up here. Again, this tells you all about the sets. We looked at this here, which shows you that legendary equipment starts with 4 substats and a main stat. So that's obviously going to be the best. The other thing to keep in mind are the stars on it. So you can see this weapon here that we're looking at is a 6-star legendary. 6 stars is the highest that you can have, and that's referred to as the rank. So what that means is that the higher the rank, the higher the base stats start out. So a legendary 1-star, for example, is going to have all 4 substats, but they're going to be much lower than a 6-star legendary would be. So it's important to try to find the sweet spot, and it tends to be that higher rank is most important, but I typically wouldn't equip anything that is uncommon or lower. You generally want to go rare and up. Obviously, 6-star legendary everything is the best you can hope for, but there's plenty of really good 5-star epic stuff or 6-star epic stuff, or even 6-star common stuff, depending if you can get a really good base stat. So for example, we looked at these before and saw that for weapons, helmets, and shields, the main stat is always going to be fixed. You can see what the additional stats can be, but one really unique piece here are the boots, which are the only piece of equipment that can have speed as the primary stat. So say you found a 6-star rare item, that rare boots that had speed as the main stat. It may be worth taking that, upgrading that all the way to level 15, which is the cap, so that you can have a huge speed boost depending on the hero, and therefore making your turn come up a little bit sooner. So I want to really quickly look at another hero in particular to kind of explain what is especially unique about this, and to kind of show how all heroes are not competing for the same equipment. So in Empires and Puzzles, the damage of a special skill is always based on the attack stat. And that might sound totally intuitive, and of course it would be, but in this game, other stats can be referenced. So The special skill attack damage can reference the attack, the defense, or the HP. So some heroes their special skill will say like triples defense and then deals damage based on defense to single hero. So that would mean the defensive stat would be tripled first, and then damage is dealt to the hero you've selected based on that defensive stat. So for example, this hero deals damage based on HP to a single enemy. So when thinking about what equipment to put on this hero, you want to boost the HP number because that's going to determine what the damage is. The attack stat here is going to determine how much damage is done by gemstones, but it's the HP that's going to determine the special skill damage. So with the equipment here, I've chosen to use this giant set, which gives a 20% increase to HP and a 20% increase to crit damage. So again, since special skills can also do critical damage, boosting that number can really have a big impact on the special skill damage. So if you look at the stats in the lower right-hand corner here, you can see that we have more than doubled HP with this equipment, which is a huge increase. Attack has gone up by about 25%, a little less than 25%. Defense has gone up by about 50%. Crit rate and crit damage have also increased. We've boosted the speed along the way, which is good too. The mana is still slow to the point that we're going to need 6 tiles on this hero's turn to charge them, because 5 is going to be just not quite enough. And then resistance can always be helpful, and then accuracy doesn't really come into play for this hero. But that's a situation where, for an attacking hero and a very offensive hero, HP equipment can be the best. And then I've also gone with the Hawkeye set, which is an increase to crit rate, which is the likelihood of landing a critical hit. So the point is, because these heroes can all function so differently, there's not just competition for all the attack equipment sets, for example. So yeah, that's something that I feel like is unique and pairs nicely with a sophisticated kind of upgrade system like the one that you see here with equipment. So I think the last thing to talk about is, where do you get equipment? There's a few different ways. One of the really important ones is being in a guild. Killing this raid boss guarantees you, as part of your guild rewards, a piece of equipment. In this case, raid bosses give equipment from the caster set, which when equipping 4 pieces gives you a boost to your mana number. And you can see with a 6-star raid boss, it is a 6-star item of either rare, epic, or legendary rarity. And another way is, as you play through the campaign stages, you can see that each of the locations, settings, whatever you want to call them, have a different symbol on them, which means that's where you would go to get those pieces of equipment. And if we click on one, for example, here, you can see that this one will give us boots. And we can either get 1-star, 2-star, or 3-star boots. So as you increase the difficulty, you can see up here we have normal, nightmare, or hell. As you increase the difficulty, the rarity will go up. But the point is to show that if you really want a shield, or if you're really trying to get those boots, for example, from a certain set, you can farm different levels for a higher chance at getting those. But I think the best place to get equipment is in the rift. So there are 2 open rifts at the moment, with a 3rd coming soon. And you can see the bottom one has a chance to give you pieces from those particular sets, and the other, sort of middle one here has a chance to give you artifacts from the sets shown there. So a level where I've been farming lately is this one right here, which you can see it shows you the enemy in the lower left, and then you'll get a random 3 to 5-star artifact. And that can be of any of these rarities, rare, epic, and legendary. any of the types, weapon, helmet, shield, gloves, armor, boots, and then from any of these sets, which we can click on up here. So the Swift set's a really good one, Crusher, Guardian, Protector, etc., etc. So these are very challenging, and you really need to, in my, I can't remember which video it was now, but in one of the Gemstone Legends videos I did, I explained the importance of using the right colors. So I've been farming this one in particular because the boss is green and I have some really good reds. So that puts the advantage in my favor because both gemstone attacks and special skills can deal more damage based on the colors. So this is kind of where I do all my farming for my quest stuff. So you can see I need to finish this one still today, but since I'm recording the video, I can't farm the rift right now. But this is where I go to, defeat the enemies, use the energy, all that kind of stuff. And this is important to do these every day when you are in a guild. So that's where you can get equipment from, since that's probably one of the most important questions to be asking. And yeah. So I think that's all you need to know about equipment for right now. If you have any questions that you don't feel like were answered in the video, which would be surprising because this was fairly thorough, throw those in the comments down below. And if you've stuck through the video for this long, congratulations, and I really suggest trying out this game. So again, download link in the description with a promo code to enter. Make sure you finish the tutorial and then enter that code within 3 hours to get your sort of $50 starter pack. But yeah, let me know what you think of the game. Let me know if you have any questions. I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.